This is it. This is when I, Andrew Dunlap, talk to the biggest names in Muskie sports for the final time this school year. For this week, we talk to Kari Winters, head coach of the women's softball team, as she talks about how she took her predecessor's teachings and applied it throughout her coaching career so far. Welcome all, and thank you for joining us on this edition of The Final Lap. I'm Andrew Dunlap, along with head coach of the women's softball team, Kari Winters. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, there's one thing I wanted to talk to you about where your earliest years here when it comes to coaching wise. How does it feel to not graduate? How does it feel to be coaching a team that you graduated from?
There's a lot of pride, in coaching the Muskies and being able to play for them for 4 years and then, be chosen to be the graduate assistant under the late legendary Donna Newberry, and then to ultimately take over the program. It's been a fun ride. Some ups and downs, obviously, with the passing of Coach back in 2010. But when I came here as an undergrad, Muskingum was a national powerhouse. We'd lose under 10 games a year, and we'd be nationally ranked. World Series appearances, OEC championships, regional titles. It just was a very, very cool, undergraduate all-around career as a student and as an athlete. I was blessed to be a part of it.
Okay. What would you say were your earliest challenges?
I think my earliest challenges, I was an extremely well-known athlete in high school, kind of coming from a small town, and with conference and district and all state honors in multiple sports. But the biggest challenge I think I had coming here was realizing that you go from a big fish in a small pond in high school to a very small fish in a large pond here at Muskingum College at the time, and coming in with a lot of all-state players and coming in with players who, were going to push you on a daily basis. It took some adjusting to. And
when you were coaching, could you describe a little bit about your interactions with you and the players those first few years?
Yeah, sure. I think as a graduate assistant, you're more of a kind of liaison between the players and the head coach. And so when I was a graduate assistant, I was, well-liked and kind of a big sister on the coaching staff. And then whenever I became the head coach, I was the no-nonsense creator, so that I think might have created a little bit of turmoil there during that transition. But it was challenging and rewarding kind of all at the same time.
When you first took the job, I assume there was some excitement in there, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I got this job. And then, but then there has to be a point where you settle down and start to get serious as a head coach. When do you think that point, in your opinion, was?
That actually hit before I even started. I think because of the cancer diagnosis of the coach that I played for, Donna Newberry. It kind of was a weaning process into the head coaching role. And so I knew, unfortunately, that cancer was going to take her life at some point, and it was a matter of time on when that was going to happen and how ready our team was going to be for that moment. It wasn't really until after my first full year of coaching did I kind of start to put the X's and Y's together, recruiting wise, practice plans, out of season lifting, in season, game lineups. It's a challenging job, and I think a lot of people kind of associate coaching with fun, and there's a lot of stress that goes behind it.
As many leaders in many fields, I feel like deal with a lot of stress in their own perspective ways, but looking at you've had a lot of success during your coaching years as well. One point you were in the early years of who I believe still assistant coach at the time. You upset a team that was ranked 4th in the nation at the time. How much of a build up do you think that this program had? How much did you think you could build up this team to become even better than what they were before.
Yeah, sure. That was actually the first year that I was a head coach, but we had beaten Cortland State. And I don't know if that's the number 4 team you're talking about, but they were also number 4. So we had some wins when I was a GA, and I was still learning under Coach Newberry how to beat nationally ranked teams. And then here, in the last couple of years as a head coach, last year we beat Wheaton, and they were 11 in the country. So that's kind of the expectations of the softball program here. And no matter who's a part of it or who's leading it, that's something that needs to always be true, is high standards and expectations, and let's go out and play the best, and let's see who wins the battle. And that's, my job is to get our team prepared for that battle.
And one of the big things that stood out the most to you probably in your years coaching here so far was probably the fact that you got in 2014 you won your OAC championship. And there was an interesting story behind that regarding like the pitcher Sarah Browning, who got injured at right around the beginning of the season, then came back during the OAC title contention and won the title for you.
Yep.
Could you talk about it from your perspective on the whole situation?
You could tell that she was hungry to get back, and unfortunately, she was a pitcher that hit for herself, which is the unfortunate part about it, but she had foul tipped a ball off of her plant foot, and that happened in Florida early on in our season, and got x-rays. Thankfully nothing was broken, but she had a really deep contusion and wasn't able to plant any weight on that. So it was kind of just a mental rebuilding time, of when you get back, if you're mentally tough enough and preparing, you're going to be able to help us. And that's exactly what she did for us, and we kind of looked to her in the conference tournament and said, we think you're ready, and let's see what you have. And she pitched really well through that tournament in 2014, and even through the NCAA regionals, she did some fun and exciting things for the Muskie softball team. And she's one of the 6 seniors that graduated last year, and they won a lot of games when they were here.
Mm-hmm. And what also during that time, you and the coaching staff won the Donna Newberry OAC Coaching Staff of the Year award, and you put a lot of praise earlier on about how you respect what Donna Newberry did. How much did it meant to win an award named after her?
I tell you, that whole weekend, we won the conference tournament, and then on Monday, they announced the OAC Coaching Staff of the Year. So it was a good Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday for our entire program. Winning the OAC for the first time, really, since she had passed away, that was very emotional, and there was a lot of head coaches across the conference in other sports outside of softball calling and sending texts and emails, saying that they understand and appreciate how much probably stress and tension that took off of my shoulders to win that. It was a big weekend, and then to have it, conclude with the OAC Coaching Staff of the Year honors, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you get a lot of highlights in your years. Now let's turn our attention to this season and how things are going. It's not looking great, but it's a very young and very talented team from what I've noticed. When I look at online at the OAC rankings for individual players, I know some players like Chrissy Hughes is ranked up there in stolen bases, and Rachel Ebeling is ranked up there in home runs. It gives you a little bit of interest in how much this team is going to be ready in the years to come.
Yeah, we graduated, like I said earlier, the 6 seniors from last year's team, and I think we might have all been a little too optimistic on, what kind of team we had this year, and we just didn't seem like we were able to seal the deal whenever we had leads, and made some defensive errors in big times, and had some lack of offensive production in some big times when we needed somebody to produce. Our sophomore class, our junior class coming back into next year with a mix of some of our younger freshmen, they're going to be great leaders with a strong incoming recruiting class. This recruiting class that we have coming in is the most excited I've been since the 2016 class came in as freshmen. So, we're pumped about the future, and this year has met 0 levels of expectations for our softball program. And, the fun thing about being the coach is knowing that your players are equally as frustrated. If our players weren't frustrated with our overall production, something would be wrong. So it's an onward project that we're all committing to.
You talk about how there's a lot of frustration going on with the team. My question to you is, what are you hoping that the players take from a season like this?
I don't think that we worked as much as we needed to in the off season on our own individually, to perfect some areas of the game. And I've heard in conversation with the players, dugout conversation, pregame conversation, that, didn't do what we needed to do. And when you hear your players saying that, as frustrating as it can be, it's also hopefully a really strong positive moving forward into 2018.
Okay, and final question I wanted to ask you. You got tons of experience here at Muskingum University, both as a player and a coach. Between those two aspects, which one has been the most enjoyable for you, and why?
Well, that's a tough one. I would never, ever trade any of my playing experiences. I just was fortunate to play with some competitors. I was fortunate to play with some really kind-hearted, loving people that were great friends off the field. I have thoroughly enjoyed my coaching time, and I've loved watching these young ladies mold themselves and figure themselves out. But I think that my playing years they're hard to beat. It was a lot of fun.
I bet it was. And thank you for coming. And thank you all for watching this season. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Orbit Media TV. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be sure to check out more content in our orbitmediaonline.com for more news stories, or listen to us on WMCO 90.7, our local radio station, or our Orbit Media Online app. Thank you for joining us.